Hey, it's V with 85th and Wait. Thanks for joining me today. Now, we're going to talk about two patterns that I recently made up. It's the Hanzi top by Seamwork, and it's the Andy shorts by Dressmaking Amore. To start with the Hanzi top, this is a very simple pattern. It only has 5 pattern pieces, and I only opted to use 4 of those. It has a front and back that you cut on the fold. It also has front and back facings that you cut on the fold, and then you have an optional pocket. I decided to leave off the pocket. This pattern comes in sizes, US sizes 00 to size 30. Now, Seamwork does have 2 different size ranges. They're 00 to 16 in misses, and then they have a 12 to 30, which comes in the curvy size. Now, for this pattern, I made up a size 14. I usually make up about a 16 in the big 4, although I'm slowly getting into more 14s. But I found with Seamwork patterns, at least for me, I usually tend to size down. I believe they draft for a C cup, and that's not the cup that I have. So in order to avoid a lot of that extra fabric, I do size down. As far as body measurements or finished garment measurements, for the bust, it accommodates a 46 to a 32. The waist is a 63 to a 34. And then the sweep, which I'm guessing is the area of the body that's below the waist but above the hip, because the shirt doesn't quite go to the hip. So I guess this is what is considered the sweep. And that ranges from 66 to 36. Now, there's some fractions in some of these numbers, but we're just going to keep it simple with the whole numbers. Like I said, I believe my measurements would have put me in a 16, maybe even an 18. And when I looked at the finished garment measurements and the amount of ease that was in the garment, I decided to go with a 14. Now, I did complete this all on my serger with the exception of the sleeve and the waist hems. And then as far as the facing, it does call for you to top stitch that down. So of course I use my sewing machine for that. So it is extremely, extremely easy. You do have some bust darts, but that's, something that, you could tackle very, very easily. So all in all, I would say this probably took about maybe 30 to 45 minutes to complete, because I used a serger, that kind of shaved off some time. I would imagine if you're using an actual sewing machine, it probably would take you an hour, and that's just because you would need to finish those seams. But with using the serger, I was able to just do all of that in one clean sweep. Now, as far as the fabric is concerned, and I'm looking down at notes, so that's why I keep losing eye contact here. But as far as fabric, it says you would need anywhere from 1 to 2¼ yards of fabric. And this is, using either a 45 or a 60-inch fabric. I use, I think, about maybe a little over a yard. This was a remnant that I picked up. It was either a remnant or a Walmart value, but I truly think I picked this up from Joann as well. So I didn't have very much of it, and I knew it was enough to make this top. As far as notions are concerned, there are no closures. So you don't need a button, a hook and eye, or a zipper. It is basically just interfacing, and you're only interfacing the facings. So very minimal fabric, very minimal notions, and very minimal time to actually put this together. Now, with Seamwork, you can opt to go with their membership. And if you are a member of Seamwork, you have access to a class that they offer. It's like a sew along for this top. I downloaded the pattern and didn't even go back to the website to see that the class was available. So I had sewed the whole thing together. And then when I was, getting all my measurements for this video, I noticed that they had a class for it. So if you're into written or into video type teaching or sew alongs, they have both of those options for you. They also have a members hack, so it's only available to members, where you can turn this top into a dress. So you have the option of, a full dress, which hits just below the knee, or you can just have it as a top. Now, I mentioned that this fabric was a remnant. It's pretty lightweight, and actually it's a little transparent. So I probably will wear something under it, like a camisole or something under it, if I was to choose to wear it outside. This I was making as, I guess, a wearable muslin at the very most, just to make sure the fit was right, because again, I used a size 14, so I wanted to make sure it wasn't too tight. And I would say the fit is spot on. The only thing that I guess I noticed, and then I did watch the class after I had made it, and they mentioned it in the class, was that you would have some puckering under the armhole if you don't clip the curves. And that's what I received, just a little bit of bunching there, because I serged that curve and wasn't able to clip it. Now you can, get a ham or something and try to press that out and get it as flat and as smooth as possible. Or you could just, elect to just use your sewing machine to sew the side seams and then finish them separately, but trying to clip some of those curves to avoid having that bunching under the arms. It isn't a really big deal for me in this top. When I make it again in a different fabric, I more than likely will clip my curves, just so it doesn't look like it's, gathering or bunched where it shouldn't be. So keep that in mind if you decide to make this top. But all in all, I'll say my experience, I enjoyed it. It was a very quick make, of course, quick to sew out, not a lot of markings and things you have to, put together. Because this was a woven, that's why I used my serger, so I didn't have to do a sew and finishing the seams. So I just did that all at once. But again, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, it'll probably take you. And I'm a slow sewist, so if I can do it in that time, I'm pretty sure just about everyone else can as well. Let's see, anything else I wanted to tell you about this one? Not really, other than it's my stamp of approval. It's my 5 stars in terms of ease of use. I believe they have it listed as a beginner's pattern, and I would agree if they do. Very, very simple. Their instructions are very clear. If you're not a member of Seamwork, I believe you can purchase patterns individually. If you've never used Seamwork before, they usually have at least one pattern that is free as a trial. So I would encourage you to go check that out, see if you like how their patterns are drafted, how they present their instructions, and maybe seeing what else is on the website that you'd be interested in, being a part of. I'm not an ambassador, at least at the time of recording this. It's not a paid sponsorship. It's just my experience with this top has been pretty much on par with all of my other experiences in terms of very, very gratifying. Now, as far as the shorts, these are the Andy shorts by Dressmaking Amore. And I've downloaded, I don't know, maybe half a dozen of her patterns in the last few months. And I'll say that this, again, was a very quick make. So for this pattern, there are just 3 pattern pieces. You have your front and your back and pockets. And so, no extra waistband or hem bands or anything. Hem bands at the bottom or anything like that. It's just those 3 pieces. Now, this comes in a size US 2 to 20. She rates it a 2 out of 5. Now, I'm not quite sure why it's a 2 and not a 1. And that's perhaps because you have the way she does the elastic and the waistband is a little different. So I'm thinking that may be the case, or it could be the top stitching. But at any rate, it's a very simple make. Now, I elected to do or to construct my shorts just a little different than she did. One, in her video that she has, and I'll make sure to link that below, she actually does a lot of top stitching in a contrasting top stitching thread. I elected not to do that. I wanted to keep mine as minimal as possible, One, just for time's sake, and two, because I didn't want there to be a contrasting thread that may, not really work with the different looks that I wanted to wear the shorts with. So mine are just, in a basic navy thread on the inside as well as the out. And then as far as all the other top stitching that you could do, I just elected not to do it. The shorts come together rather quickly. This was my first time, sewing up a bottom with her. And so I just wanted to make sure it came out good. Now, with a size 2 to 20, that doesn't sound like a very expansive range. However, I made a size 16. Which I think for her patterns, I should have been based on body measurements like a 18 or a 20. In her pattern, she doesn't give finished garment measurements, just body measurements, and then the amount of ease. So with her body measurements, it accommodates a waist of 38 to 29 and hips of 48 to 34. And again, you're thinking, that's nothing. But wait, there's more. I do believe there is like a 10-inch ease and maybe a 12-inch ease for the waist and for the hips. So now you tack 10 inches and 12 inches onto 38 and 48, and that gives you quite a bit of range. So as I said, I went down to a 16. Now, as you can see on the pictures, they look like they fit pretty good. They have a lot of volume. They're supposed to be a wide leg short. However, next time I will more than likely size down to a 14. So now for me, if my body measurements, I believe, was between the 18 and 20, but I'm going down to a 14, that's up to 4 different sizes, right? So if you're in a maybe 24, possibly a 26 or 28 US sizes, there may still be an opportunity for you to, wear this garment because it has that much ease. And even going down to a 14 for me, I'm not nervous that, it may be a little tight. It is definitely not. Like, actually, you can make the elastic in the waistband, tighter in order to get the fit that, or at least the fit that I want. But the legs are a little larger than I would have wanted them to be. So I do want to get just a little more narrow with that. And so that's why I'm going to go down to a size 14. But I definitely will be making these shorts again. Now, in terms of notions, there are 2 notions needed. So you need elastic for the waistband, and you need some interfacing for the pockets. That's it. Again, no zippers, no buttons, no hook and eyes, none of that. Just fabric, thread, elastic, and interfacing. And I mean, it is a very small amount of interfacing. So you can use some scraps that you just have to put that interfacing in there for the pockets. I would say that if you decided to use the steps that she used in her video instructions, it probably would take you anywhere from maybe an hour and a half to an hour to construct, because in her video she uses French seams, and again, she's doing a lot of contrasting top stitching. For me, I'd say I probably whip this up in about 30 minutes to 45 minutes at the most. Again, it was just putting on the pockets and then pretty much serging everything. So all in all, I'd say, this is, again, a very beginner-friendly pattern. Stamp of approval, 5 stars in terms of ease of sewing and then ease of cutting out with minimal notions. Now, let me make sure I covered everything on this one. Oh, as far as fabric, it says you would need anywhere from 1.4 to 1.6 yards of fabric. I used exactly 1 yard. And the reason why I know I used exactly 1 yard was because in a few videos ago, I had some remnant that I bought from Joann, and it was exactly 1 yard of denim fabric, 7 ounces. And so I laid the pattern pieces on there. Now this is a 60-inch or maybe a 58-inch wide fabric. Laid the pattern pieces on there and they fit perfectly. So it probably is on the more generous side of the amount of fabric you need. So if you're just shy of like a yard or maybe 1.4 or 1.6 yards and you're thinking that's exactly what you need, I would say become a placement professional, right? And lay out those pattern pieces on that fabric and do some Tetris if you need to, and you may be able to finagle getting it out of less fabric like I did. So just keep that in mind. I think my size called for 1.1 yards of fabric. And like I said, I had exactly 1 yard, but I still had, some inches. And if I wanted to scoot and move around, I probably would have had just a little bit more, but I knew it wasn't enough to do anything else with. So I just, kept it simple with my placements. But just know that it's very minimal in terms of the amount of fabric as well. So for this one, it does come in a PDF format. And so now this was different because she has letter size and then she has a 0 size. And for her pattern, or at least for this one, maybe for all of them, they come in individual size files. So you have 2 files for size 6 and 2 files for size 20. Unlike what I'm normally used to, which is you have just one pattern file, which are layered and you can click on or off, and sometimes you can't, the pattern sizes that you want to use. And if you need to blend and grade and all of that, you can do it. But with this pattern, and maybe for all of them, they are individual patterns based on size. And so those are the 2 styles. Now, I think I said it, but in case I didn't, for Seamwork, they have the projector, the copy shop, as well as the letter size as well. So these are both PDF patterns, which you can send to a copy shop if you don't want to go through all that printing and taping yourself. Overall, I'd say my experience, I enjoyed with both the top and the bottom. I will leave the links to both of these patterns or both companies in the description box below. And then I look forward to hearing your comments. So tell me, what do you think about the top? What do you think about the shorts? Do you have them already? Are you set to make them up? Is this not your style at all? Let me know in the comments, because I'll definitely be making more of these. For the shirt, I'm thinking, while this was lightweight, I'll more than likely use something a little heftier, maybe Ankara or just something a little more structured, and put a turtleneck underneath it. And I can layer this and wear it for the fall and maybe even into the winter months. For the shorts, don't know if I'll get a chance to make another pair before this summer is out, but I'll be eyeing some fabric and getting ready for next year. And again, whether that's a 14 or if I get down to a 12, I'll have the PDF pattern that I'll just print out. Thanks so much for walking through life with me on this sewing journey, and I'll see you next time. Bye.